First of all, these sprayed edges are everything. I had to skim over it. It was like, okay, I get it. This is a literary masterpiece. So far, the prologue is actually fitting the vibe of the book. Something bad did happen, and so I was like, oh no, I hate this for him. Joyce, gather yourself, darling. But I love the intrigue and I love the suspense around this particular couple. As you know by the title, we have a lot of books that we have to get through. I am so excited, and it's gonna be a long one, so I'm just gonna get straight to it. The first book that we are gonna be tackling is Here One Moment. So this is actually my intro to this author, but she is actually a well-known, well-respected author. She is the author of Big Little Lies and Apples Never Fall, which I believe Apples Never Fall has actually been turned into like a TV series. Excuse my voice, I need more tea. My sinuses are on attack. It's a lot going on in here. So far, I'm loving it. So far, I really enjoy it. I did just get a little irritated because I'm like, okay, we need to get off this plane. So basically, there is a jam-packed plane and it's a massive delay going on. This lady, I'm just gonna read it to you. It says that suddenly a woman, none of them know, stands up. She makes predictions about how and when everyone on board will die. That is crazy. Can you even imagine some lady telling you, oh, you are going to die by way of attack from your spouse or something crazy like that? It says that some of the people dismiss her. Others will do everything they can to make sure her to make sure her prophecies do not come to pass. All of them will be forever changed. And then they ask the question, how would you live your life if you thought you knew how it would end? This is such a unique premise. I think it's going to be very, very fun. I'm only about 20% through, so I do have the audio copy of this one. I didn't want to buy it physically because I'm already reading Blue Sisters physically. By the time I made it to chapter 23, the predictions were jarring, and I just cannot believe some of what she was saying. I'm ready for them to get off the plane and go and live these lives. I'm ready to see if these unique predictions are going to be true and if these people are actually going to die the way that she said that they were going to. Good morning. For this to be a tension building and rather serious book, it's actually very witty. It has so much heart and so much humor, and I'm just like, I like that combo, right? Once it was revealed that it was her doing these predictions, she started to get like obviously hate mail, but then she also got thank you mail, and then she was like, the thank you mail was very heartfelt and I didn't know how to feel about that, and so I just thought that was so funny. So I really like the writing style. I would say that the narrators are awesome. So I didn't even know there were two narrators for a while. I finally end up realizing, but their voices complement each other so well, and it's so theatrical and lively and entertaining, and it just really enhances your entire reading experience. So it's one narrator for all the different POVs of the people that were on the plane, and then Cherry has her own POV, her own narrator, I'm sorry. And so I actually am like really enjoying listening to this book. Sometimes I know it can be a lot with certain narrators and certain accents. I think that they are Australian, and so yeah, I'm liking it so far. Okay, so I am definitely getting a little bored listening to Cherry's POV, which is not good because we're actually in her POV, every other POV. I'm more invested in some of the people on the plane. So some of the fates that she gave them. There is a couple, and she said one of them is going to die by intimate partner homicide. I am loving their POV. But I also think that's so vague because, like, why not just say spouse, you know? So I'm like, is this person going to have an affair and then they're going to be killed by a little side piece situation? I don't know, but I love the intrigue and I love the suspense around this particular couple. She actually predicts that someone's child is going to die by way of drowning, and I'm like, girl, listen, first of all, she has a lot of audacity and a lot of nerve with these predictions, right? Can you imagine living your life with these things hanging over you? And there are so many other predictions. I'm just giving you just a few, but there are some very harsh ones. I just feel so bad for these people. I can't imagine knowing when I'm going to die and how. And then, like, how does that affect how I'm going to live my life? And I love that the book basically toys around with that idea. Even if you know your fate, you can fight it. So for example, if you go to the doctors and you get a diagnosis, there are certain things that you can do in your lifestyle or with your health to prolong whatever fate that was given to you. So it's also exploring the idea that once we know our preordained destiny, we change our behavior, which tampers with our fate. It's so many little cool little things. I'm also really loving like the little anecdotes that we're getting about celebrities, which I don't know if they're true or not. There's just so many different little things that are popping up. I'm not really sure why they're there, but again, it just adds a little humor, a little wit, a little bit of fun, a little bit of lightheartedness to a book that is very serious. And like I said, there's so much tension. So yeah, I am ready to get to the part where people are actually dying. I hate to say, but I'm ready to see if these predictions are going to actually happen, if she's a phony, if she's real, and like how is this going to affect all the people. Oh my god, chapter 52? So freaking good. So I will say that Cherry's POV has gotten better. I'm not nearly as bored. I'm starting to like her and find interest in what she's talking about. But yeah, chapter 52? That was so good. There's so much suspense and there's so many little breadcrumbs leading up to what's gonna happen with this couple, and I am here for it. I am eating it up. Let's talk about Here One Moment. So I actually really enjoyed the book. I really like the little plot twist around some of her predictions. They aren't like as straightforward as you would think that they are. This is basically a story about marriage and fate and the fragility of life and grief, and I really enjoyed it. It was so unique. It was so different. I can definitely see why it was nominated for the fiction like best of the year category. On Audible, it was like one of the top books of the year. On Amazon, it's one of the best books of the year. I can see why. It did not give me 5-star energy. However, it was a solid 4-star. It could even be higher than a 4-star. I just wasn't able to, like I said, connect with all the different characters, but overall, this was such a good book. I really ended up liking Cherry's character. She's very funny, she's quirky, she's witty, she's sarcastic, she's awkward, and more than anything, she's dealing with a lot of grief herself. And so it's a story about how sometimes when we are dealing with our own things, we can project. I love the mental illness representation. It's very realistic, it's very analytical based, it's very accurate, but it's also done in a lighthearted way so that the book doesn't feel so heavy. And I love how the book is tossing around this theme and this idea that we live our life to the fullest when we know that it is limited, when we know that we don't have that much time left, which sucks. You need to be living your life now. Life is fragile. Every day is not promised. So yeah, I really love the overall theme about what the book is taking a look at and trying to convey to us. I think that the narrators did a fantastic job with the audiobook. The author did a fantastic job telling this story. Does it get you to think? Absolutely. Is it thought-provoking? Absolutely. Did I actually have fun with it? Absolutely. So is it a book that I enjoyed? Absolutely. Why would I not give it 4 stars? And then more than anything, I feel like the way that she brought the book together in the end, it was so cool and it was so beautiful, and it was just like, I don't know, it also is just taking a look at like what is reality and what is not, and it's so good. I don't know, it's just making you think about so much, and it was just such a good time. I am so unable to say what I want to say because it's such a spoiler, so you would have to read the book if you wanted to know. Oh, it's so hard to talk about it. If you wanted to know, let me see. Come on, Joyce, gather yourself, darling. She does not classify herself as a fortune teller. However, she is more than skilled to give these predictions. If they come true, they do. If they don't, they don't. So you just have to read the book and see for yourself. Ouch. Anyway, we are going to move on to the next book. I have been reading this book now for over a week. I feel so bad. It has nothing to do with the book, which is Blue Sisters. I am loving it. It's just that I can always get through an audiobook faster. I was reading other books for other videos. It was just a lot going on. And so this book just took a little bit of a backseat, but I have wanted to get back to it. That's how I know that once I get back into it, hopefully I just get nestled back in and fall back in love. I will give initial thoughts and a synopsis and all that in our next clip. Got a new squish friend. This is so cute. Husband seen it and he was like, oh, I know my wife would want this. He was right. I definitely love this thing and I need it today more than anything because, you know, monthly friend. Anyway, we're here to talk about Blue Sisters by Coco Millers. I think that's how you say the last name. Basically, this is a story about estranged sisters, and I guess they're going to be navigating life after their sister dies. And then it says, a year later, as they each navigate grief, addiction, and ambition, they find they must return to New York to stop the sale of the apartment they were raised in. But coming home is never as easy as it seems. As the sisters reckon with the disappointments of their childhood and the loss of the only person who held them together, they realize that the greatest secrets they've been keeping might not have been from one another, but from themselves. And it says that it is going to be a story of death and grief and hope and loss and learning to fall in love with life again. So I am enjoying this a lot. And then I also want to point out that this was like the best prologue I've ever read. And the reason I felt that way is because you get so much information. You get a very clear picture as to who these sisters are. It's very true so far to what the story is following. And so I love that. And I have notes about Avery. So Avery is a 33-year-old lawyer. She is the oldest sister. Why? She's independent, she's resilient, she's responsible, and she is strong. And she's also strong, but she's fragile. So these are just my own little personal notes, just reading about the sisters and different notes that I'm taking. Then you have Bonnie. Bonnie is 31. She's a pro boxer. She's the second eldest, and she's soft-spoken, but she's strong-willed. She's tough. She seems disciplined, but gentle, and she's very trustworthy. Then you have Nicole, aka Nikki. She's the girly girl, the sensitive sister. And then you have Lucky. She's 26. She's a model. She's the baby sister, so I'm pretty sure she's a handful. I'm the oldest, and my baby sister, she can be just such a baby, such a brat. And so it says that she's very attractive, she's talented, she's shy, she's lonely, and she does feel very lost in life. And they often say that people that have like jobs like that, and she's traveled, she's seen the world, they often feel the loneliest. And so I am really enjoying it. Right now, we're really just getting to know the sisters. Only negative thing that I would say is that it feels very unrealistic as far as like their jobs, you know, especially with the upbringing that we know that they come from. I would have wanted more normalcy. Boxer, a model, lawyer, and I guess she's like a very wealthy lawyer because her and her wife, they live in like this area that's very prestige. She says she likes to just say the city that she lives in because automatically if you live in that city, people know you got that money. So it's nice. It does let you know that however your childhood was, you can still grow up and create something that is very different than what you had. And a lot of people do that. Yeah, I'm loving the vibe. I'm loving the prose. I'm loving the dialogue. I'm loving the language. I cannot get a sense of the depth that I would want from a sisterhood. I'm not getting that, but it does say that they are estranged. So you do feel that. They don't feel like extremely close sisters. And so hopefully we get to at least see why they are in the space that they're in. So yeah, I'm going to keep on reading, and then I will be back with a check-in around the halfway bookmark. Okay, so I just came across this part that was so good I had to share it. It says that Avery had previously thought love was built on large visible gestures, but a marriage turned out to be the accrual of ordinary, almost inconsequential acts of daily devotion. That is so true. Little things like washing the mugs or running downstairs to give each other a kiss before one leaves the house, cutting up extra pieces of fruit, just like the little things, right? She says she realized that the acts are easy to miss, but if ever gone, they are deeply missed. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I feel like you can relate to Avery if you are an older sister, if you have or are married. There's a lot of stuff like that that's very relatable. And then just so much about her being the older sister. Avery had been in recovery for almost a decade when Nikki died. How could she have not known how deeply her sister was struggling? How could she have missed the signs? She was the big sister. It was her job not to miss things. Listen, as the oldest sister, I can relate to this girl in so many ways. Good morning. So I have some updates, but I am also rushing. I am getting ready to go to work. Let's make sure you guys are good. Okay, first thing I want to say, I love Avery's wife. Absolutely love her. She's so sweet, and she's every bit of a therapist. No, she's actually either a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and you can totally tell, like, she's very much keep the peace. Like, she has little qualities that remind me of me, and so I'm just like, I really love her soft demeanor and her ability to like be the calm in the chaos and give people the benefit of the doubt and be that voice of reasoning. Like, I really enjoy her character. I'm not really enjoying Bonnie's friend scenes. They kind of bore me, okay? Most interesting thing about Bonnie's chapters to me is the fact that she's a boxer. I love the little boxer nuggets. Sometimes I do feel like it's overkill, but I get it. When she starts hanging out with her friends and stuff, I'm just kind of like boring. I don't really care about the friends. I don't really love the friends. I'm not finding connections with them. I don't think they're the best friends for her. So I just don't really like them. And so those scenes I'm not really a big fan of. I really like how the sisters seem so perfect on the outside. Like I said, they're a successful lawyer, a boxer, and a model. Right? So very intense, very high level jobs, but they seem so perfect on the outside. Baby, they are an entire mess internally, okay? The insides do not match. And so I do love that we get to see that dynamic, that just because somebody seems a way on the outside, it does not mean that they are that same way internally. Lucky's POV is my least favorite. Lucky is actually the model, and we don't get Nikki's POV, at least not at this point in the book, because Nikki actually is the sister that dies. Their parents are deciding to sell her apartment. Avery has been able to pay the bill for the year so that they can keep the apartment, but mom is like, okay, you guys, it is time to move on. So yeah, I really like Avery's POV. It is good. Got some drama, got some mess, got some suspense, got a little spice. Like I said, I love her wife. She is the oldest, so we have some similarities, and then we also have a lot of differences, because baby, I ain't never been on no drugs. But I can relate to her though still, because she's always had to be responsible, and I know what that's like as the oldest. Sometimes it's just nice to do something irresponsible, or not have to be responsible and just live carefree and not have to think. Lucky, she's the one that is the model, and although I dabbled in modeling a little bit as a teenager and it was something I really wanted to do, I thought that I would really vibe with her chapters. It's not that I don't like it. I do like the model stuff, but other than that, I don't know, right now she's not the most memorable, but she was the one that was the closest to Lucky, because they're very close in age. There was even this one section where I had to skim over it. It was like, okay, I get it. They're close. Basically, we got to watch them grow up. So it was really beautiful. So if you read this book and you fall in love with Lucky, or you can relate to her, you're going to enjoy that part of the book. I did not. Like I said, I kind of like skimmed it a bit. I read the first couple things, but then I just was like, all right, we get it, we get it, we get it. As a matter of fact, let me just give you guys a quick little preview of what I'm talking about. So Nikki was just 2 when Lucky was born accidentally at home, okay? So we get the start of it. In the next paragraph, it says, when they were 2 and 4, Lucky followed Nikki everywhere like a duckling, like a dog, right from the start, okay? So then there's more stuff in that, but I'm not gonna give spoilers. I just want you to know how detailed this growing up with them is. Then they were 4 and 6, and they were taking baths together. Then they were 6 and 8, and they had matching bowl haircuts. And then they were 8 and 10, and their dad shattered the wedding china. And then they were 10 and 12, and so on and so on. And I promise you, this goes on. So it starts on this page. We have a full page of them growing up together. Yeah, it continues on. When does this stop? Oh my God, it's still going even over here on this page. So it's like 4 pages. It's like 4 pages. Oh my God. But this was funny because I'm like, there's always that one little sister fight. So it says at 20 and 24, they had their worst fight ever. Yeah, then it keeps on going when they were 22 and 24, 24 and 26, and then it just keeps going. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, child. It led us all the way through the end of the chapter, which is actually where I stopped, because that was a bit overwhelming for me. So I am actually finally to almost 180 pages in, and we're getting ready to go back into Bonnie's chapter, which, like I said, the parts with her and her friends bore me, but the parts about her and her trainer, they're very interesting because they have such a complex, slightly convoluted relationship, because he is the trainer, she is the student. It's just, he's a very important person in her life, and she really looks up to him, but then he also created her and made her into this person who is a fighter and who is hard and who keeps things bottled up, and he gave her that mentality that, you know, boxing first, then family. And so she's struggling with that a little bit, I think, because of how they've turned out and because of why they're all estranged. I feel like we need to see more of their relationship with their mom. Oh my gosh. So I was editing, and I do not remember if I even finalized my thoughts on Blue Sisters, or maybe I did and it's misplaced. I have no idea. I have no idea. But I am here to give my final thoughts on Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. So my initial reaction to reading the prologue and just getting to know the sisters, I thought that this was going to be a 5-star. But after finishing the book, I bumped it down to like a 4.5. It was a story about so much. And I do believe that Avery was like my favorite sister, even just looking back at this, because remember, I finished this book months ago now. I just don't know where the footage is, and so I adored Avery. Her chapter, her section, it was just my favorite part of the book. She's struggling with addiction. They all are actually struggling with addiction in their own ways. Yeah, there was a beautiful side story going on within her POV. I ate it up. We get to explore motherhood a lot in this book. A lot, actually, which I really appreciated. You know, there are just some women who it doesn't matter the health risk or all the negative things that they know might come along with motherhood. It's still something that they aspire to have. It's something that they want to have. And so we do see that being explored in the book. We also see that some women, they do not want that, you know, and that sometimes when one partner wants something and the other one doesn't, it can lead them down separate paths. And so I love that that is being addressed in the book. And then it's so beautiful too, because in the acknowledgments, yes, I'm one of those people that reads the acknowledgments. She says, as I write this, I am pregnant with my and Henry's first child. So the final thanks must go to this mysterious being inside of me, our baby, my darling. I had a different ending in mind while writing this book. Then you appeared and bent the curve of the story and my life. Thank you for choosing me. Oh God, this is so good. This was so good. Do get to see the sisters having some very difficult conversations, long overdue conversations with each other and their mother. I was really waiting for a conversation to be had with the mother, and so I was really happy once we got to see that in the book. We didn't get to the level of healing that I would have liked to see, but we did get to a level of healing for them. I thought that it was like a great depiction of sisterhood and how even though we get on each other's nerves and we might bump heads, we love each other. We love each other so much. And so I really did appreciate seeing that being depicted in the book. Definitely one of my favorite books that we will be reading in this vlog. I would have to say that Bonnie was my second favorite sister, and I really enjoyed and appreciated how her story unfolded. I really enjoyed this. There were some parts, like I said, that could have been cut or that did not feel realistic to me, or there's some side characters that you just don't like, but then there are side characters that you do love. So I would definitely still recommend this, and I can definitely see why it was nominated for the Best Fiction category. Real Americans. Okay, so we started Real Americans. First of all, these sprayed edges are everything. This book is adorable. The actual hardcover is like a cherry burgundy. It's very nice. And so anyway, this book is about 3 generations in one family, and they're asking questions like what makes us who we are and how inevitable are our futures. It's broken up into 3 parts. Lily, she meets Matthew, and they are complete and total opposites. They still end up falling in love. I just reached part 2 where we are finally at Nick's POV. Actually very excited to get to his. We left off on a bit of a cliffhanger here, so I'm like, how are we gonna weave these 2 things together? But back to the synopsis. Part 2, it's gonna follow Nick, and he lives with his single mother, Lily. So there's that. I don't know what happened with her and Matt. And he can't shake the sense that she's hiding something. So Nick sets out to find his biological father, and the quest threatens to raise more questions than it provides answers. It's already off to a really good start. I actually love her writing style. I like Lily, but I do not love her. I understand her, and I understand why she's struggling a little bit. She has like those struggles with her identity that we are seeing here. I also see that she was struggling with motherhood, and we definitely get a good depiction of class, as the synopsis said, the differences between her and her lifestyle and Matthew and his lifestyle and their friends and how they interact when they're with each other's friends. And yeah, it's been really good. I'm liking it, but I'm really excited to finally get up in Nick's POV. Okay, so I'm on my cell phone because my camera, it's like making this noise. It's so annoying. I don't know what's going on with it. But anyway, I wanted to give a update on Real Americans. I really enjoyed Nick's POV. It was really good. His part in his section is all about him finding out what happened between his mom and dad and who his dad even is, and understand a lot more of himself. And so Nick's entire section is really just about identity and friendships and about coming of age and learning to love and navigating anger and just all the things you deal with when you are coming of age. And it was just so good. I was like completely oblivious and aware to everything going on around me, and I was just fully immersed into the story. I love how his chapter was written. I kept feeling like, oh my God, I feel like something bad is gonna happen. So I love how the author was able to create a level of suspense suspense or just create an atmosphere in which you could feel and anticipate what was to come. If I felt like something bad was about to happen, something bad did happen. And so I was like, oh no, I hate this for him. I was so sad for him, like just on so many different occasions. But then I was also really happy for him and really excited for him. I also just, my heart ached for him because it was like, because he doesn't have his own identity, he basically adapts and is easily persuaded by others. He'll like take on their identity or allow them to create a lifestyle and a narrative for him. So I felt so bad for him. I really did. But then, like I said, I just really enjoyed his section. It was really, really good. And it ended on a very jarring moment. But again, I even kind of felt that coming. But yeah, it was very jarring and I'm kind of like, uh-oh, what happened with that? And so now I am getting ready to finish out the last part of the book. I did start part 3 and it's okay. I believe that it's Lily's mom, starting off a little bit weird. His, so far to me, is the best POV. I'm not that far into May's chapter, but I am not nearly as immersed and excited for her chapter. I don't feel like we got to know her enough in chapter 1 for me to even really care what she has to say here. But I know that her POV will be important to the story. So I'm gonna keep on reading and then I will give you guys my final thoughts. All done with Real Americans by Rachel Kung, and I would definitely read another book by her. Part 3, the mom section, was my least favorite part of the book. However, her section gave the most backstory and it was actually very important to the story. I just didn't find it all that interesting. Like, there were moments where it was very interesting. I was very invested. It gave me what I was looking for. And then there were other moments where I just felt so disconnected from her. I was unable to relate to her. And then, like I said, we didn't get that much of her in part 1. And so I don't really feel like we needed an entire section dedicated to her. Her section is basically about regret and the choices you make that shape the entire family. It's about going after things that you know you have no business going after. You know, it's about sexism, sacrifice, the choices we make for love. And so, yeah, her section was very interesting. Nick's section, if it was not in this book, I don't think it would have been as strong. I mean, I'm sure other people will argue me on that, but his section was just so good. We could have just followed his story and the mom's, and then we could have just got flashbacks. So I wish it was structured a little bit differently. Overall, I really enjoyed the story. It is a story about classism, identity, secrets, and heartache, and loss, and longing, and I could just go on and on. Like, it covers so much. I will say that this will not be the favorite of the vlog. However, I do see why it was nominated. Really good topics being explored here. The journey for all 3 of these individuals, it was so beautifully done. It was so well written and they come together so nicely in the end. And I feel like the author just did a fantastic job. The book definitely did not deserve to win the category and it didn't. So in real time, I don't know what today's date is, but I do know that the winner was announced and it is Wedding People. And I definitely read that book already. Loved it, ate it up. Think I'm gonna get a copy for the shelf just because I do have a couple people in mind that I want to read it. And sometimes, you know how you tell people to read a book and they say, okay, yeah, sure, I'm gonna get to it. And then they don't. You just need to buy it or have it on hand and then let them borrow it. So I'm just glad we're done with it. And it is time to move on to the next book. I don't know what I'm in the mood for next. I am so torn between 2 books. And so I guess you'll find out in the next clip who we're going with. Babes, we've started Intermezzo by the Sally Rooney. She's clearly a goat. Not gonna lie. She is only for a certain group, but she's so good when you finally fall in love with her. Last night, I made it to page 124, but I started this book at the end of December. I could tell that it was so good. I did not want to rush the experience just for the sake of reading it in 2024. I'm not even halfway done, and this is gonna be a top read of 2025. I can tell you right now. This book is almost 500 pages, and I'm only at 125 pages in, and I was already just so captivated, so undone, so unraveled, so raw, and I just felt like, woo! So I started the book all the way over. Started back at page 1, read it again. Last night, I wanted to start back at page 1 again. I was like, oh my God, Rooney, oh my God. Only reason I wanted to keep starting over is because I felt like it's so good. Like just here, it's so dang good. I'm like, I bet you I could get more. I bet you I missed something, or I bet you I can go a little bit deeper. It opens up with Peter's chapter. He can be mean. He can seem very pompous. He can seem like a lot. But when I went back and again did that reread, I was like, you know what? I have so much compassion for him. He's depressed. He's really, really struggling with a life that he thought he would have, a love and a relationship. That's not going to happen. Or maybe it does. I don't know. But at this point, even if it does, it's going to look different. The two women that he's entangled with are Naomi and Sylvia. Sylvia brings a sense of peace for him, a sense of healing and comfort and just stability. Whereas these other women are just something to pass through time, something to numb. They're just another drug to stay in this little induced situation that he's going through mentally. You can also tell that he struggles as the older sibling. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of pressure, a lot of weight on him. They didn't seem to have the best relationship with their mother, but they did seem to have a really good relationship with their dad. And so to lose your father, the one who you did have that safe, solid relationship with, it is devastating. Believe me, this is why I said I felt so unraveled, so seen. I kid you not, I will never recover from living in this world without my father. I just won't. But you can definitely tell that they're struggling with this. They're making certain choices and certain decisions in the midst of their grief that maybe if they weren't crowded with so much grief, they probably would not be making. So, and there's nothing wrong with Naomi. She's beautiful, young. Seems like she's one of those girls that anybody would want to be with, but his heart and his safety, it lies with Sylvia. And so, it's just so beautiful to see the dynamic. And oh my God, I even made a note here: comforting and healing with Sylvia, numbing and distracting with Naomi. Stop playing with me. This is so good. I did say that I hate all the skipping and bouncing around between the women in the timeline. It's just the way that Rooney's telling the story. And I think she's telling the story that way because for him, it is all intertwined. You know, this book does demand your focus. It demands your attention. You will miss something if you are trying to do the absolute most. Okay, and then let's move on. Chapter 2, it starts with Ivan. We get introduced to the fact that he is a competitive chess player, and to us, he's very good, but to himself, he does not think that he's all that good. And he meets Margaret. I love Margaret. Oh God, I love Margaret so much. Oh, Joyce, don't even start cutting up. But anyway, so I love Margaret, right? Ivan's POV, I love. I like being in his POV way more than I like being in Peter's. I don't think that he's diagnosed, at least to this point, but his brother does allude to the fact that he's probably on the spectrum. My daughter is on the spectrum, and I love to learn about how they view us, how they view societal norms, and what comes easy to us is very challenging for them. So when I'm in his POV, I just feel like I'm learning so much, and it's just so beautiful to see the world through the eyes or through the lens of an ASD individual. And so that's part of the reason why I'm just like obsessed with Ivan. And then I just think he's really cool. He's very young, so he's coming of age. He is struggling with desire and being introduced to desire. Well, he has obviously experienced desire, but never in this way, baby. I do need to share a quote, okay? And he talks about how he's never been able to have that desire, that strong type of desire, and then get it, and then it's real and it's good, and he's just like, whoa. And even that is just so beautiful to me, because part of that is just probably being just a young man. And I think another part of it is because he's different, because if he is on the spectrum or just has some level of neurodivergency, he probably felt that way, that like, because I'm different, I struggle with this, or it's hard for me to do that. Maybe that type of life I'm not going to have. And for him to get a taste of it, baby, Rooney, listen, I'm telling you, it's so good, it's so good. Not me about to be crying again. Let me chill. How long is this clip, child? Don't even know. Let me keep rolling. So I'm just like on and on. The book needs its own video. Okay, but I just want to share this with you guys before I let you guys go, and I'll see you guys in the next clip. So beautiful. Basically, they have a moment where she's letting him know that, like, I don't think what we have going on is okay. I want it to be okay. I don't know how it's gonna look. And then he just lets her know that, like, it's okay. I think it's fine. The age difference and the fact that we don't live close. I'm willing to work through this thing if you are. I see that you're struggling with some of these things in your past. You have some things that are going on that you still need to sort out and work out. But I am here for you. It says, and whatever she's crying about or thinks she's crying about, this still seems to mean something, meaning her and him. That she wants to feel his arms around her, which is the same thing he wants. Ivan has never been such a man before and had probably even thought that he never could be. I skipped a whole bunch of stuff, it's fine. But now that the right moment has arrived, he finds it's very easy to be there, to show up, to be calm in the midst of chaos, and to be emotionally strong for someone else. I'm ad-libbing, but that's what I gathered from this. Just to hold her in his arms and feel her warm tears against his shoulder, and to touch her hair and even say to her, Margaret, it's okay. Don't worry. It's all right. Stop playing with me. Listen. Oh my God. Listen, we would be here all night, okay, if I was just on and on with the quotes, but just know that I'm having the most beautiful experience reading this book, and I cannot wait to give you guys another update. This was such a beautiful story. It's such a quiet story on love and loss and how we project, how we make ourselves out to be the good guy in the scenario, and how we hurt other people, sometimes knowingly, sometimes not, and how we get so wrapped up on what something looks like to other people and how we prejudge. There is so much grief in so many ways, not even just the loss of their father, but also just for Peter, the loss of the idea of a relationship that he thought that he would have, a life that he thought that he would have with Sylvie. Is her name Sylvia or Sylvia? It's Sylvia. Yeah, he just is mourning the loss of what was with them and just trying to embrace and cultivate something new and different and beautiful out of what is. And listen, oh my God. This is a literary masterpiece, okay? It has been very hard for me to read another book. So I finished this book a good 3-4 days ago. I was gonna do a check-in midway through, but I just couldn't. I wanted to read this book so slow, and as I was nearing the end, I was so excited to see how it was going to play out. Like, how is Rooney going to wrap this up? It looks like this is going to be perfect, and I'm just like, is it going to stay that way? Can she really wrap this up in such a way that I'm just left feeling so raw and open? It's so good. It's such beautiful character development. There's just so much beauty in here. The most beautifully written spice scenes, for heaven's sakes. Like, the dialogue is beautiful and everything is just so thought out. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes you could feel like, oh, this could have been said or done in a way that it feels less convoluted or, you know, not so wordy. She's so free and so expressive in these books. She does not care what you think. You know, it's almost like this is like a big wide open journal entry, and she's just using these characters to just explore so many topics. And again, I just feel so raw and so heartbroken, but also so hopeful. Again, am I going to recover from this and be able to read another book? And so I started reading another book, DNF'd it. I'm like, okay, let me just read a whole nother genre, you know, let me just shock my brain, try to read a thriller or something, right? Ciao, I started that and it's looking like I'm going to DNF that as well. This oh my God. You know how the teens say she did her big one? Sally Rooney did her big one with this, okay? This, baby, I can see why it was nominated for Best Fiction of the Year, and I am flabbergasted that it did not win. A lot of what she's talking about and doing is gonna go over somebody's head, not gonna lie. And then, like I said, this is more of a quiet love story. I will reread this book. This is one of my top reads of 2025. I already know. This was a 5-star. This could even be a 6, okay? This is the only book of Sally Rooney's that I have given 5 stars. I'm just so impressed with what she was able to do here. I'm so happy I read it. I'm so happy I own a copy. Yeah, we gotta move on. I don't know what we're moving on to. Just give me some time, and in the next clip, you'll know exactly what book we're getting into. I did start reading I Hope This Finds You Well, and I DNF'd it. I probably should have gave it a fair shot, but I listened for about an hour. It was not off to a bad start. I just did not care. I think I should not have tried to read that book after Rooney's book because it was just not the vibe, which is so crazy because this book, I was like, no, if I read this after Rooney's, I'm gonna compare and then it's not gonna be fair. And I wanted to give this book a fair shot. I was wrong. I'm not comparing them at all. This is actually exactly what I want. So our main character, he is a male. His name is Andy, and he just went through a breakup with his girlfriend. He's not okay about this breakup. He said they didn't have any previous problems, so he just does not know why she broke up with him. She gave an explanation, but he does not accept this explanation. He feels like there has to be something more. One of the reasons is she said they weren't compatible anymore in her eyes, and that she didn't even know if she wanted to be in a long-term committed relationship. So she probably just felt as if she was wasting his time, which I absolutely appreciate. I think anybody, once they make that realization, they might as well just, you know, bow out gracefully. He's currently staying like with his best mate and the mate's wife. And so the mate's wife is actually still friends with his ex, and you get to see her supporting her and basically just defending her a little bit, like maybe she did just want to be single. He's like, no, she has to be in love with someone else. There has to be something more. And she's like, a lot of women want to be single, and I can totally relate to that. Even as a woman who's been married almost 18 years next month, there are times that I feel like I would just want to be by myself. I would still want husband, love him. That's my guy, okay? That's my man. Sometimes you have had to give so much of yourself, being a wife, being a mother, and just being all these things to all these other people. It would be kind of nice to just be alone sometimes, you know, maybe like a little apartment on a weekend, you know what I'm saying? Nothing too crazy. But anyway, so basically his friend's wife is just like, dude, there are women who want to be single. Like, this is not unheard of. She's like, maybe I'm one of them. So I just love having that moment to be seen, and I love that they're talking about it. I love that it's being explored in the book. I'm only a little over 50 pages, so I'm gonna keep on reading, and then for this one I will check in. This is my first book by her, and so far I'm really liking it. I think it's funny. I love the tone. I love how it's written. Like I said, I love the language. I love the humor. I love that we get to see humor being explored alongside pain. And yeah, I don't know why, but I kind of like that it is a male main character. Maybe this is a good way to transition from Intermezzo to this book and then to whatever we're gonna read next, because the other stuff that I was reading, it just was not hitting. I actually really enjoy the fact that he is a comedian. Just to see like behind the scenes of like comedians, I know that that can be like a pretty tough and challenging job. You don't always get good money. It's like, am I gonna make people laugh? It's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I just love his profession. And then I also love how we get to see how like women show up and support each other. They're like going on a spa and like a retreat, having like a weekend getaway. He was so mad, like, what does she need a retreat for? She's the one that broke up with me. So it's just so funny. And then like him and the guys, they're like just going out and then they're drinking. He's like, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be single. I just want to be back with my girl. I want us to make up. I want her to give me a reason as to why she doesn't love me anymore. And I'm just so excited. I feel like we're gonna get to the part where it's gonna get even deeper. Not that it's very surface level now, but it's just gonna go deeper, and we're gonna be able to really explore why she broke up with him. I just don't believe that we're just gonna be left hanging like that. But until we get to that point, I really enjoy seeing him navigate his feelings. It's just nice to see like a guy not like wanting to go out there and just do anybody or do anything. He's like, no, I want to be at home watching TV, eating snacks, chilling with bae. And I just love to see it. He's like, it's just so different to date now, I guess, as opposed to when he was single before. He's like, look, I don't know how to do these dating apps, how to talk to girls. He's like, I don't know how to be single. So I kind of enjoy the fact that we will also get to see him learn how to embrace singleness. It's nice to have someone to do life with, but if you don't have someone to do life with, I think it's so important to be satisfied and okay with doing life alone. You can still do life alone, but still be surrounded by so many people. And yeah, okay, Dolly, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. Okay, this was fantastic. This was such a fun, beautiful breakup story. And I know it seems weird to couple such words with a breakup, but it just was. It's funny, it's lighthearted, it's wildly insightful. I love that we get the male POV. We get to see that not every guy is just like eager and okay with being single. He has this yearning and this desire to be in a relationship, which is a good thing. Like, it's okay, but then there are moments where you realize he might be one of those people that attaches a lot of his identity to his spouse, which you need therapy for that. But there's nothing wrong with wanting to be in a relationship as long as you don't become dependent on that relationship. relationship. We also get to see how it is when you are single and everyone else around you is in a relationship or they have children. It's like you're slightly jealous, you kind of envy that. But then we also get to see on the flip side how freeing, okay, I'll say that again, how freeing it is to be alone and to be single. There is something so beautiful about having a partner and being in a relationship, but let's never forget that being single offers you a level of freedom that you won't have when you are with someone else. I want to leave you guys with this one quote. I did not annotate, which is so unlike me. Oh yes, this part here as I'm flipping through, I remember. So we also get the exploration of the pressure you experience when you're in your mid-30s, so they're like 35, and being single. You're grappling with the questions of, do I even want children? You know, and if I do have that desire, will it be too late for me? There's a particular character that gets us to look at monogamy differently, where it's like if you're in this relationship with this one person, you only had that chance to fall in love that one time. Versus me, if I want to be with multiple people, then I get the opportunity to fall in love and learn all these people and love them in all these different ways time and time again. And I thought that was such a beautiful quote. I really like that perspective. But I do want to challenge it because my anniversary is February the 11th. Me and husband will be married 18 years. That is insane. That is absolutely insane. It is also an absolutely beautiful thing. We are not the same people that we were back when we got married in 2007 as we are today in 2025. We are not. So we have had the opportunity to fall in love time and time again with different versions of us. And I love that for us. So although that is true, people who want to like just be free and dating everybody, you can do that. And yes, you get to fall in love time and time again. But I do believe that people that are married can have that same luxury as well. So I do want to share this quote because it was just so good. So Andy was basically talking to his mom about the breakup, how it was so painful and how he's navigating it. And it's just taking him so long, he feels like, to get over her. He says, I don't know how to get over it, Mom. At this point, I'm so tired of myself. I don't know how to let go of her. She says, you don't let go once. That's your first mistake. You say goodbye over a lifetime. You might not have thought about her for 10 years. Then you'll hear a song or you'll walk past somewhere you once went together. Something will come to the surface that you totally forgotten about. And you say another goodbye. You have to be prepared to let go and let go and let go 1,000 times. This was really good, okay? I can see why this was nominated. Do I feel like it should have won? I don't know. But anyway, let's get to the next nominee. Okay, guys, so I started Welcome to the Hyunam-Dong Bookshop, and this is the 3rd place nominee for the Goodreads fiction category, and I just don't see how. So I have this goal where I have to at least make it 20% in before I can like DNF it or even log it on Goodreads. About 20%, you know, if you're actually going to finish the book or not, generally, not all the time, but generally for me. And so it was off to like a decent start. Then I just kind of was like, I don't really know what's going on. I can't even give you a synopsis right now because I did not read the synopsis. I remember reading it at the time, and I'm like, okay, this sounds fun. It sounds decent. I like that it's a book about books. I absolutely love that she highlights, she being our main character, she highlights that you can't just enjoy books to run a bookstore. It actually takes more than that. There's more analytics to it. There's just a lot more depth than just, oh, I like reading books, I'm going to open a bookstore. And so that's being addressed in the book. She highlights that people do have an appetite for reading. We see people reading in excess on Instagram and YouTube. And so you have some people that have that mindset that it's oversaturated and it's all these people reading, and it's still a very limited amount of people that are reading, but people are reading. But then there are some people, I think at least half of the population, they're not even reading one book, you know. But for the people that are reading, they're just not reading 50 and 100. They're reading a normal amount, which is totally fine, somewhere between like 5 and maybe like 10 books. And she was just, you know, talking about how it's important to read books that speak to you or that have your reading taste. And, you know, it's important to read books about things that you may need extra help on. Like if you're about to quit your job, you can use books as a way to research or just get more information. And as you guys know from my reading taste, I read both fiction and nonfiction. So I love that little highlight. She likes somebody, but I can't tell you nothing about this guy. Oh my God. This is so bad, you guys. And so I'm listening to this one. So I don't know, maybe I should have read this one physically, but it is what it is. I've already committed, and I bought this when it was on sale at the end of last year. I'm going to try to power through and finish this because we've already DNF'd one. But if I get to 50% and I'm just not vibing, we will DNF it and we will just move on to the next book. I am so sleepy. Justice stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired, but I was like, you know what? Let me just find like a little bit, just a little bit of energy from somewhere to give you guys an update on Welcome to the Hyunam-Dong. Is that right? Welcome to the Hyunam-Dong Bookshop. Listen, the book was cute and it was charming and it was cozy, but it just was not my jam. I was zoning in and out, child. That's probably a better book to read physically. However, I do believe that it is like a beautiful love story to people who enjoy reading, and for anybody aspiring to own a bookshop, or for those that do own a bookshop. It's a very cozy read. You probably can read it over like a few weeks, even a month, you know, and just chip away at it slowly, a chapter at a time. It's a good solid 3-star book, but I gave it a 2 just because my 2 stars, they're just okay. Like, I won't ever recommend that book. It's a book about acceptance, being content, and going after your dreams and picking up the pieces after, you know, things fall apart. It's about being happy and new beginnings. And so it's about a lot. That's why I get kind of why it was nominated, but it just didn't work for me. The plot is just kind of all over. The narrator, she was not my jam. Typically, I like my narrator to have a variety going on in their voice. She did not have that. It was so hard at times to know when she was portraying like a female voice or a male voice or a different character. Like, they all just seemed the same. I didn't really like that. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Don't recommend that one. Glad it didn't win. This is where I'm in the minority, where a whole bunch of people liked the book, and yet again, I did not. We have new nails. That's the good news. The bad news. The bad news. The bad news. Honey, we got another mediocre book here. I cannot. And I picked books that sounded good, that I really gravitated towards, that, you know, even maybe a couple other booktubers that I admire, they really enjoyed. I typically, you know, like similar books as them. And I'm like, oh, you steered me wrong this time. I'm currently reading Martyr. And that's all I have to say about it. I'm currently reading Martyr. Darling, it's terrible, darling. It's terrible, darling. I don't give a dang about this book. I don't care how this story plays out. Can't lie and say that there weren't a few gems sprinkled in. There were a few moments where I was like, oh, this is it. It's about to finally get good. And then it goes back down and I'm just like, why am I reading this? I am halfway through the book almost, and I still don't care. I still want to DNF it. But I was like, no, let me just keep pushing. Because some books in the beginning, I felt like DNFing, and then I end up loving at the end. But at the halfway point, baby, we should have a connection, and we do not. And I am so sad. I am so sad. I feel like we started this vlog out with so many bangers and so many of the good ones that now I'm just left with the scraps, darling, and it's so annoying. Hopefully it gets better, but if it does not, I am going to look through the list again, and we gonna read one more book. That's it. Just one more, because I cannot take this. I have a photo shoot tomorrow. I am the salon manager at a hair salon. We have a brand photo shoot tomorrow, and so the girls did my hair, so we straightened me. I'm gonna get curled tomorrow. My sister, she went ahead and gave me an arch and some brow tint, okay? So that is why we look kind of plain from here down. I'll get some, like, you know, eye dramatics, some lashes or something like that tomorrow. But anyway, we are here because I need to close out Martyr, okay? I finished it days ago. Simply put, the book did not feel cohesive enough for me. There was a lot of beautiful moments, a lot of beautiful sentences, but overall, I was just not interested in this book. It was like a massive trauma dump too, and I am already in a very sensitive space right now mentally, because we're trying to get justice meds in order, and it's just been a hot mess. So I am not sleeping again. When I do not sleep, it's just not good for me mentally. It's not good just in general. And so yeah, we're just dealing with a lot. So with that being said, I did not feel like listening to a book that was so heavy on the trauma dump. This guy, he's been through a lot. It's why he's a recovering alcoholic. So you have present day chapters, and then you have past day chapters. The past day chapters were not keeping me interested. Like sometimes, and I think that's why I was able to hang in there and not DNF, because present day chapters, they were so good. Like I was more interested, and again, that would be more non-fiction vibes, not fiction vibes, but martyrs that have taken place in history, and, you know, maybe their backstory and what that looked like. I just had different expectations. I did not, I'm lying. I was supposed to say I did not hate the book, but I did. I hated hated it. And I only hated it because it just did not feel cohesive. That's the only thing I can think of. And I know that I am the minority on that. Everybody loves this book. So please take my review with a grain of salt. I promise you, it's not a terribly written book. I'm so glad that I am done with that book and it is time to move on. I already started Color Television. That is our next book. And it's already giving me 3-star energy. I think it's just really me at this point. I feel like the purpose of this video was just to examine why some of these books might have been voted, but then obviously also just to get my next 5-star read. And I feel like we've already gotten that now, you know? I feel like I got some bangers in this video. These mediocre ones are just, I just don't want to force it anymore, if that makes sense. So after this, we're done. This book is actually wildly funny though. Like literally I'm laughing out loud. I love how she is approaching pain with humor. I can do that. That's how I get by in life, if I'm being honest with you. And so I do like her approach with this book. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock this book out and then I will give you guys my final thoughts. The photo shoot was so cute and it was so much fun. But in other news, I did go ahead and finish Color Television and I liked it. You know, I feel like if you are a person of mixed race, you would maybe deeply understand a lot of what she was exploring, a lot of what she was talking about. And it was so interesting. Okay, so I had no idea, get this, maybe I'm the only one that didn't know. Oh my God. So Danzy Senna is actually married to Percival. His name is Percival Everett. He's the author of James. That was one of my favorite books of 2024, right? That's his wife. And it's so crazy because when I saw her picture, which I will show you guys. So this is her picture and she looks like a white lady to me, but she's actually of mixed race. She has a white mom and a black dad. She talks about that a lot. People kind of question or challenge your blackness if you don't look a certain way. So it's like, are you really mixed? Let me see a picture. You know, I just found it very interesting to go down this road with her and explore certain themes with her. This one was like an examination of race and class and artistry. Although she was talking about some heavy or more painful things, it was approached with humor. And I oftentimes will approach, you know, sad things or traumatic things or painful things with humor. And so I loved that approach. I loved that style of writing. I did not like how she wouldn't fully flesh out some of the themes. Like she would bring up certain things, she would explore certain topics, but then I felt like, oh, this is good, but then there was no gut punch. It was just like, oh, and then we just kind of stopped, you know, like where's the climax? You guys, I'm clearly like on cloud 10, but anyway, I am done. However, I did download, I hope this finds you well, I did download that on Libby and I am gonna give it another shot because there's this one booktuber that I really like and she liked it. So I'm like, okay, let me be fair. I only listened for like an hour. I feel like where I went wrong is trying to listen after Intermezzo. You don't follow a book like that up after such a literary beast, okay? I'll just deal with it at another time. And so yeah, I found some new favorites. I found some new bangers. If you had similar thoughts or different thoughts, please share them with me in the comment section down below. Do not forget to prioritize self-care. Like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Baby, this is about one of the realest clips you will ever see. This book kind of reminds me of The Measure. I did not read The Measure. See that bed over there? It's not made up. I'm not making it up to record no video. I'm sorry. But it is a book that I have wanted to read for some time now. See these lashes? Are these the best books of 2024? Unlashed, baby, it's fine. I'm not putting on any mascara, any lashes. So I'm definitely gonna add that to the priority list of books I want to read in 2025. I'm shocked that this was in there. I just like love language. I love accents. I love raisinets. I did want to learn like French or Spanish, but I'm just not dedicated enough. I'm not disciplined enough. Do I feel like it should have won? I've been recording this video for so long. No, because my favorite books thus far is still All Fours. I know I didn't read it in this video. I read it way long ago when it first came out. Unlike in Martyr, I just did not have the bandwidth to explore certain themes there. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed and I've been your jam so far, take a second. When I'm not sleeping and I'm up, I'll wait. What am I doing? I'm reading books. It's a little bit more challenging for me to DNF books that I actually have to pay for, but I will do it. Who really should have won is Intermezzo. I'm just saying. Go ahead and subscribe. Join the family. I really like The Wedding People, but I adored